Who's the best fodder factory in the game? Rearmed and Attuned units are some of the most valuable units in all of FEH. So let's talk about how they rank, key fodder targets you can put on each one, and who the best recipients of their specialized fodder are. But first, leave me in the comments, who is your favorite fodder factory? Let's go into the rubric. Now, there are two basic things that I'm rating all of these units on. The first, and I think is probably the most important, is fodder. Now, new skills are pushing the meta, and you know how IS loves to hoard these things. This is a method where you can actually get them on a unit that they are starting to give us in sparkable banners through the year. Look at this most recent one where you had 4 rearmed units in it. So you can pass that fodder on, and what you can get and what you come with is very important. I'm gonna rate a unit higher if they come with special fodder because, well, that means it's easier to get and less units for you to have to fodder to this, so they are cheaper. The last thing is utility, and these units don't have to be amazing. Understand that they have to be good, and then they're going to have amazing fodder because that gets passed along the way. But if they have something unique to contribute, they're going to rank higher. I want to make sure these have use cases though, because again, you're going to be stuck with what's left over, and we have enough options now where you can pick and choose which one you want to start with. First off though, let's get into Rearmed Lif. Lif is my boy, and this was the first Rearmed hero our imaginations were alight with all of the possibilities. This was Brave Hector's weapon in rearmed form, but you know, without the effective damage negation, which is significant, but the issue was there wasn't a whole lot you could do with this unit, and when this unit came out, there were even less options to fodder than there are now. Let's go over a little bit with the weapon though, and we've seen this before, but slaying, attack defense -6, guaranteed follow-up denial, and guard. Those are some really, really good skills put together, and this is still a good weapon to this day. If we look at this unit as a whole though, being a cav means there are just less things you can do with the fodder, and this unit doesn't have a lot to do with the fodder that was given it. Most units don't want that, and it's not at the cutting edge of the meta right now, so I rank this at a 2 there. As far as utility, honestly, there's not a whole lot of places you can use this except in auto battle scenarios, like when you have the cav quests for the training tower. You will see here I've got a +10 max invested, and I mean 56 defense is really significant along with the other things that this unit has. You're going to be able to really knock someone in the mouth. But overall, most units are getting so much power that this unit isn't going to contribute other than just being really fun. Let's move on to Arcane Eleuthir specifically, and I am always going to say invest in the Askra trio. The reason is you are going to use them. This isn't like a meta unit that's going to fade out. This is a unit that they force you to use in different quests. They are bonus units all the time. All of that, they are going to age well is the wrong word, but the investment is going to pay off in terms of how much you use it. This is like super Alphons, and you've got to love this with Gambit 4, attack speed, defense clash, and times pulse. This unit is going to absolutely smack some things, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Alternately, you can build a Gale Force build with this unit, and that is fantastic as well. Arden is Arden, and with that HP stat, I mean, you are always going to have a place for this unit. Which brings up another thing. With arcane weapons, don't forget that there are 2 things governing what makes them good on a unit. That is stat line, and then the fodder that they can get. Included in that is anything special. Now, if you have a duo unit or you have a dancer, these are units that can do things that other units can't do, and it makes them extra good. For Arden, he has the highest HP stat in the game as a day 1 unit. We're all waiting for the day that he gets a natural 99 HP. It's gonna be crazy. The last unit here is Pala, and if you watch the meta report, this last one had this exact Pala coming in and just absolutely demolishing my defense. And that is another thing to point out, and the reason these arcane units are so powerful. This is a day 1 unit that you've taken, you've put an Arcane Eleuthir on, and then you've just decked out with the use of some of these rearmed units and giving them stuff and then passing it on. You can have some really fun clears with that and really make your favorites shine. All right, the next thing is for you meta slaves out there, and you guys know that I'm talking about myself in that group, but this is Chrom. This is an example of if you took Lif and decked him out and what skills you would be able to pass on to other units. Cavs have gotten some really interesting things lately. Look at the new lull skills and the lull speed defense, which are absolutely fantastic. You've got Flared Sparrow, which can only be inherited by Cavs and Flyers. And then you've got the new alarm skills, which are really fantastic and give you stats and Canto. Combine them with this unit and Chrom is already good, and this takes him to another level. Rearmed Robin. I am such a sucker for dragons. Anyone who's watched the show for any amount of time knows that, and this unit is still very good. This was the second one up, and this was when they really started giving us meta skills within these units. Hardy Fighter at this time was the skill. Like this, imagine Guidance 4. That is the impact that that skill had upon release, and you got this in rearmed form where you can now give it out to other armors. If you look at the weapon in general along with the preference skill here, we've got Arcane Grima, which is Slaying, Omni +5, a guaranteed follow-up, true damage equals 15% of attack, you've got 7 HP healing, and you've got adaptive damage because of course these are dragons. As far as Dragon Hide, this is interesting because you got the negates armor effectiveness, and we just talked about how powerful that was. Then we got an Omni -8 to other units in combat and special acceleration. So this was an attempt to keep this unit as speedy as possible. And for the most part, I mean, this unit is still very, very fast. If we move on to just the overview of this unit, I say the fodder on this unit is 8. And the reason is she comes with Hardy Fighter, which is still very good. But the fact that she is an armored unit and a dragon means she can pass on some very specific skills. There are no other units that can pass on things like Counter Roar or Dragon's Wrath or the Scowl skills. Some of those, like Counter Roar and Scowl, take up 4 spots, but they are powerful enough that you want to be able to pass those on, even if it takes your entire rearmed unit. It also ends up with Grima having these, so that's a good thing. But that's why I have the fodder ranked as 8 here. As far as the utility, I think this unit is still very usable in the game today, especially merged up like she is if you have invested in her as a fodder factory. But you can regularly use this unit in offense, and with a miracle build, you can still use this unit on summoner duels and somewhat in Aether Raid's defense, but for that you've got to go more for the near save build. This unit is both a very powerful near save and a powerful far save. We've talked about some of the special things, but the savior skills are fantastic. Even though they take up 3 slots, I am praying that any day now they expand that to 5, please. But there are lots of other fun things that you can pass on, and this unit is great for fodder duplication, and the beacon skills are the last thing to mention because they are amazing and have kind of revolutionized the way that armors work in different modes. Let's talk about where Arcane Grima goes best though. So, looking at the different things, and hats off to Tactic and the Discord, they gave me their Noe build, and this is really fantastic and is another way you can take your old favorites and revamp them. Counter Roar 4 for dragons is like Gambit is for the rest of the world. Like, that's how influential that is. And you add on attack speed pledge and attack speed finish 4 and the distant counter seal, and this unit is fantastic. When you look at a unit like Degensia, you're looking at, again, the stat line. Very min-maxed, dropped all the speed, and you stacked everything else up. Remember that Arcane Grima gives a guaranteed follow-up, and I mean, look at that stat line. It's hard to argue with it. The last thing is what we talked about. Dancers are going to play a big role in these, and anytime you can give them stuff, it's a lot of fun. This is overkill, I know, but I mean, for those of you who love nils, this is not overkill. What I do want you to look at is things like Infantry Pulse 4 and Firestorm Dance 3. These are interesting skills to give folks, and I think we're going to see more of those builds as we go. Keep an eye on those because those are more viable now that we are seeing more of these rearmed units. Lastly, there are so many different things, and I wanted to talk about Counter Roar and all of those. I've given it to Famortis, and it's absolutely amazing on him. but I wanted to look at a case where you combined everything and in one fell swoop could give it to a unit, and this wasn't quite one fell swoop, it was two. Building armors is expensive, guys. This is Shell, and Shell is the worst kept secret in Summoner Duels. Everyone talks about her like no one knows about her. It's really funny. But if you update her with this build, she can really do well, especially in the meta right now when we have units like Hinoka, who is just absolutely smashing people as a red unit. Anyway, there are a lot of good things you can do with this unit. I think this unit is still very meta relevant and a lot of fun. You could also do this with a unit like Rudolph, and Valentine's Rudolph is very powerful, and look at all of the things you can pass on. This is kind of fantastic, right? Rearmed Ganglot, and I mean, for those of you who watched my top 5 worst video, this unit made it because as a unit, she is tough to deal with. This is an Omni tank that is mediocre speed, which is the worst speed. Like, you either want it dropped all the way off or you want it maxed all the way out. Speed is a very finicky stat right now and hard to keep up with. But this weapon is not bad. Now, this is Arcane Downfall. You get Slaying, you get an Omni +5, you get Special Acceleration, Follow-Up Denial, and Healing. That healing is what makes people really mad because they wanted this to be a Gale Force weapon, which it is set up to be, and then you have 7 HP healing, which just ruins everything. Looking at this unit though, and really more diving into what this unit can give. This is why people love this unit. As a melee infantry, there are so many skills, like all of the skills. You guys can see how many powerful things you can pass on, from the new bonus doubler to the physical no follow-up to all of the dodge 4 skills, canto control, infantry pulse. Like, this unit can do it all. The reason I have fodder at 6 is because she doesn't come with anything that she can give you. And that's huge because that is an extra unit that you have to give away. You can think of that like 150 extra orbs, which is tough when we have so many units to summon for. As far as utility, summoners, I've talked about it, but this unit doesn't have a lot to give. And even the weapon, when you look at it, is not, because it limits you on the Gale Force front, it is hard to really love what this unit can do. Still though, there's a lot of fodder, and I can understand why this unit has fans. Let's talk about where we can use Arcane Downfall, and we've talked about it, but summoners, the Asker Trio. Anna is a great user of this, especially if you're using her in AR offense. She can be a fantastic Gale Force unit with this weapon because you don't necessarily need the 7 HP doesn't mean as much because this unit is going to fly in and do things as opposed to being an initiator. So, fantastic weapon on her, especially if you add in Infantry Pulse 4, which is a phenomenal skill for the Asker Trio in their bonus season. The next one, and this is of course for Swift Sea, look at that Amelia. I think Swift Sea has this exact build, but this is a lot of fun, and this unit can do some serious damage as an Omni tank is basically how you're setting this up, with some far save capabilities as well. 53 speed isn't just the tip top, but it's still really respectable, especially when you add in all the other pieces. The last one is actually my favorite, and looking at Azura, this is one of my favorites from way back in the day that I really hoped that someday I could get to +10, and it just never happened. But we've got the classic there, Firestorm Dance and Soaring Guidance combo that just makes her amazing. You can actually make this a Gale Force unit if you want, but this is more if you want an alternate build to some of the craziness that is Gale Force. And this unit can do a lot of damage and have a lot of fun. So the last thing is, what crazy meta thing are we going to do with this? And honestly, build an Omni tank. And that's why folks love this unit. If you are an Omni tank addict, Rearmed Ganglot is not a bad unit to get. Look at this. This is one fell swoop. You get an entire kit for that Omni tank. Alternately, you can look up for Null Counter Disrupt 4, which is a fantastic skill as well. This is just 2 units and Ganglot, and bang, you've got Lapis up to date with that 60 speed, and she is glorious. But let's talk about Rearmed Ophelia. Do you all remember when Special Spiral 4 was the skill? Like, it's still very powerful, but when this unit came out, when Rearmed Ophelia hit, it was the skill. Like, that was absolutely amazing, and you wanted it on every unit possible. Being in infantry, this unit can be such a key part in building other units, and Arcane Eclipse is not bad. I actually like this weapon quite a bit. This has Slaying, Omni +5, Special Acceleration, Quickened Pulse, Guaranteed Follow-Up, and Null Attack debuffs. So that's nulling the debuffs on just your attack. This is basically a unit to help build your AoE smasher when you're talking about Arcane Eclipse in general, and that is not a bad thing. If we look at fodder, Special Spiral is still amazing, and I give this unit an 8. As far as all of the different things, I mean, we've read them off before, but you can see all of the fantastic stuff she gives. It is a smaller subset than the melee units because they just like giving melee units more things, but that doesn't mean it's any less effective. The Magical Null Follow-Up is a very powerful skill right now, and we've already talked about the feud skills, the ploys, the attack speed oaths, and all of that. Canto Control is another one. If you're hurting for that, you can start handing that out and have an extra skill on top of it. But we also have new skills like Flare. Flare is fantastic and something that just popped up, as well as Desperation, and even Brash Assault. These are skills you can hand off to other units, and they're going to be fantastic. Fodder is an 8. That's where this unit is. This unit can give a lot of folk stuff and comes with good stuff as well. Utility is a 2. This unit has no preference skill, and that's really tough. Especially right now, we've seen a jump in the level of nukes. They are just absolutely ridiculous. Think of Wind Clawed. That unit gets automatic lethality, which is stupid. This unit can't compete with that. To be honest, that there are a whole slew of new nukes, and these rearmed units are having trouble keeping up. So let's look at some of the builds. And first up, we have Sanaki, and I know so many people who absolutely love this unit. This is a great build where you can really come in with your AoE damage with that 81 attack. I mean, 30 flowers is a lot. Did you ever think we were going to get up that high? Combine that with Magical Null Follow-Up, and you can get some piercing in there as well and really do some damage. Next, I had to include Mercedes in here just for PM1, and look at this beauty. Arcane Eclipse is a fantastic weapon on this unit, especially with how high the attack is, and Cav mobility is nice. What I will say about Brash Assault 4, and I know I'll get some questions on here because Arcane Eclipse already has an automatic follow-up, the thing is, that reflective damage, that is amazing and can really boost Mercedes up to the next level. The last, of course, is Sigurd, and we talked about dancers already. Cav dancers are amazing because they get 3 movement. You add in Sabotage AR3, which is an underrated skill, Infantry Speed Tactic, and of course Arcane Eclipse there, and you've got a really supportive unit who can also do crazy things in support of your Cavs as they move into absolutely close in on the enemy and destroy them. Looking at the meta build, you can look no further than Chrom, and this is a build on Chrom that I still use, and it's amazing. You've got all of this, of course, this is nice because you can get it all in one fell swoop as long as you have Special Spiral 3 fodder, but Duo Chrom can really go in and smash things with this. This gets Ruptured Sky procced on the first hit, and you don't have to spend resources on physical null follow-up, which is still only available on 2 sources. This is a fantastic build on him. Rearmed Alfred is the unit that broke Twitter with that +20 defense. He was going to absolutely end Fae. If you look at what this unit comes with past that, there's not much, and we'll talk about the fodder and the problems there, but understand that Arcane Xiang is actually a good weapon. Let's look at that just a second. That is Slaying +1. We've got Omni +5 in combat. We've got a guaranteed follow-up denial, and special acceleration. As far as self-improver, the preference skill, you've got guard, you've got attack +10, speed +5, defense +20, and in combat, res -5 to the opponent. That is a lot of stats. The problem is stats don't mean as much as skills, and this is a bit of a disappointment, especially with it being the first engaged rearmed unit here. I don't know about you guys, but I was just expecting more. As fodder, there's nothing in this unit's kit that you can give away, and it's a cavalry unit, so there are less things that you can pass on. As far as utility, there's just not a lot you can do with this unit. I mean, what can I say? Right here, you've got a defense of 78, and that Ignis is going to absolutely destroy things. But getting that unit there is going to be difficult, and it's going to be hard to use this unit, period. Let's look a little bit about the Arcane Xiang builds, and this is one of my favorites with Eldigan, and I am a huge Dancer Eldigan fan. This really takes this unit to the meta, and with Gale Force, Wings of Mercy 4, and Guidance 4, this is an absolutely fantastic Gale Force Dancer. If we look at Vigard, we've got a very high defense stat and attack, and the combination of those can make this unit a great near savior. You add on Special Fighter 4 and Close Defense 4, along with the auto follow-up with Arcane Xiang, and this unit can do a lot of damage. This unit's a lot of fun. Last, I have to throw Michaelis in there. I was really looking for high defense stats in case you couldn't tell. But this is another unit with 62 defense that Bonfire is just going to explode on. You add on Guard Bearing 4, and you've got a melee frontliner that can really hold up if you're a Michaelis fan. Last but not least, the meta build, and this is a chance for me to talk about something. I know this is one skill that you're putting on one unit, and you're wondering about whether that's a waste or not. If you got a whole bunch of Alfreds, no, this is not a waste. There are some skills that are so meta-influential that you get them on a unit no matter what. Gambit is one of those skills right now. There are a lot of different units that want this, and this Lucia build is one of them. The C skill can be put in and out for something else, but understand this is more of if you have built up Lucia and then you want to add in Gambit. And you don't want to fodder a whole lot of Robins off because that unit is incredible. So you can give this one skill that takes up 4 slots to a unit like Alfred and pass it on to multiple units because Alfred is sparkable. Now every time you need a Gambit, you have to spark for Alfred as opposed to having to summon for a new Robin. That's a big thing, and skills like Gambit are worth it. But we're going to get into some more powerful rearmed units now. Guidance 4 is actually the thing that broke the game last year. This is easily the best, most influential skill that we had, and they put it on a rearmed unit in Tana. And this unit and the fodder are pretty danged amazing, with attack speed unity being great. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about Arcane Astron because we have 2 options for bows. Arcane Astron has Slang, Omni +5, you get a damage boost of 12 minus foes cooldown times 2, and then we've got a guaranteed follow-up and 30% damage reduction on foes' first attack. And it's that damage reduction that really separates this out from Arcane Dark Bow. And we'll talk about that one in just a minute, but let's remember that 30% damage reduction, having your glass cannons survive is a huge deal, and we're seeing that just sweep the meta, and for good reason. Now, as far as the preference skill, this preference skill is phenomenal. Keep in mind that flyers don't get good B skills in general. We've got Canto. We've got the crazy Sonya warping where you can move 2 spaces from units within 2 spaces of you. And then we've got speed defense -X, which X equals 4 plus the number of spaces to the target. So we've got speed and defense buff, we've got warping, we've got Canto, we've got true damage, guaranteed follow-up, damage reduction. This is a really nice kit for this unit. As far as the fodder goes, because Guidance 4 is so good, it's hard to place this unit anywhere but 9 for that alone. But there are a lot of things you can use this unit for. I've included the dance skills. Understand that those are available to all units, but we'll talk about why I put them on this unit in just a second. We've also got Soaring Guidance and the Oath skills and the Ploy skills, and of course now you've got the Flared Sparrow skill, and of course she comes with attack speed unity. There's a lot of good fodder to be had, but that mainly rides on the fact that Guidance 4 is there, and Guidance 4 is amazing. The utility, I give this unit a 7. I have used this unit quite a bit, and I keep finding uses for this unit. The warping is fantastic. The survivability is fantastic. We've got great fodder and a great kit. This unit is really fantastic. I do put the utility as 7 because, again, it's a flyer, and ranged flyers don't have as much of a use as some of the other units in the game, but 7 is still really good. Let's talk about builds with Arcane Nostrand, and you can use this on slower units or units that you want to survive more. Karagi's a good example here. We still have the stacked up 57 speed, and you can kind of use the guaranteed follow-up as kind of a poor man's NFU. But it's combined with Special Spiral 4 and Attack Speed Pledge, this unit can do a lot of damage. Next up we have Annette, and I wanted to showcase a ranged armor here because I think this unit is really good on them. Keep in mind the nice thing about ranged armors is that they can be both a ranged attacker and a defender, and the fact that they are your far save. This unit does a bang up job and can really do some damage as well as keep your units alive when merged up. And the last one here is Midori, who's kind of a fan favorite from way back when, and 41 speed isn't a lot, but with all of the other things going on, this unit can do a lot of damage and be a lot of fun. Let's go over the meta build, and this is why I was talking about dancers in that dance skills in that first one. What I used this unit for was to pass along Guidance 4 to all of my key dancers, being Plumeria and Peony there. Any others you have on there that's good for that, but that's really what I focused this on, and I encourage you to do that. You want to think of your fodder factories as a focused item where this unit is going to give away stuff to dancers, and this unit is going to give away to my melee frontliners, and this unit is going to give away. You have an easier time with that. The other thing is, this is the first time Ruptured Sky has popped up. Know that Ruptured Sky is always a fantastic thing to give your rearmed units for when you have just that extra slot and need to fill that with something that you can give away to another unit that they can use somewhere else. But this Peony, I have this build, 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's time we really start getting into the heavy hitters, and Rearmed Ingrid is one of my favorites. Guard Bearing 4 is a very influential skill and can help a lot of units in summoner duels and in Aether raids alike. I am a huge fan. As far as Arcane Lewin goes, it's also one of the best, if not the best, rearmed weapons that we have right now. Arcane Lewin has Slaying, Omni +5, true damage equals 20% of speed, you've got lull speed defense, and you've got NFU based on speed. All of those are excellent skills that you already want on your Omni tank. We go over to Nightly Devotion, and we've got Canto remaining +1, which is fantastic on her, and Omni +8, which is a lot. Null debuffs, which comes in clutch in the days of Legendary Robin that is just sweeping all of, well, everything. And then you've got a healing of 7 HP after combat. This unit is set up. When we look at the fodder, being melee and flyer units have so many things they can give to other units right now because of the guidance thread of skills, along with some other things that have come along, like aerial maneuvers. These are fantastic things to have stocked in your rearmed fodder factory. I give this unit a 10 for fodder because she comes with guidance, comes with Guard Bearing 4, and she can give so many skills out. I have her here with Gambit 4 and Soaring Guidance, and I would highly recommend that build. That build is excellent. Summoners, this is a fantastic unit all in her own right as a melee frontliner. Now, looking at utility, that is really what we're talking about. In summoner duels, this unit is a staple, and I've seen this unit combined with Soren as a near save, which is absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough good things. I think this unit is a lot of fun and can be used in a lot of different ways. Let's look a little bit about Arcane Lewin builds. And of course, first up, we have to have my ridiculous Sharena build here. I actually don't have Spurn 4 on her yet. But Arcane Lewin, Godlike Reflexes, Attack Speed, Prime 4, Spurn 4, and Attack Speed Pledge on Light Season, especially during her bonus season. This is a very respectable Omni tank and can really do some damage. This is a fun unit, guys. Looking at armors, we have Hilda, and you've got Attack Speed Prime 3 and Special Fighter 4. That combined with Armored Beacon is one of my favorite combos. Along with Arcane Lewin, it makes this unit, it gives this unit no follow-up, and the high speed is something you can really take advantage of. Last but not least, and this is an absolute favorite of a lot of people's, this old school Azura with Arcane Lewin can be a Gale Force monster. 53 visible speed on this unit is fantastic. Combine that with Wings of Mercy 4 and Attack Speed Pledge, which gives you that special cooldown. This unit is great. Keep in mind that Attack Speed Pledge, that really makes up for the deficiency in Arcane Lewin, which is no special acceleration. Whew. Okay, as far as the meta builds, giving this unit to Catria or Cordelia is really fantastic, and the triangle attack or double strike are both key things to so many modes, and this is a way you can get that to these units. This is one of my favorite units to have. I'm looking for more merges when she comes back around. I highly recommend this Catria build. Even now, this is really a fantastic thing to have on tap. It's the halfway point, guys, and I wanted to check on how all of our units were doing. We've got Ingrid up there at tier 0 because of being a melee flyer. We've just talked about that. We've got Tana and Grima coming up in tier 1. They have some amazing skills they can give away, and they're good units in their own right. Tier 2, we have Ophelia, and mainly that drop is just because as a unit, she is not fantastic to use. She still has fantastic fodder to give. Tier 3, all the way down there, we have our melee Cavs so far and Ganglot. I understand Ganglot is great for Omni tanks, but how many of those do you need? Summoners, we are about to see the redemption of Cavs. Are you ready? Rearmed Chrom with Fate Unchanged. I love this unit, and this unit is way underrated because everyone is focused on Arcane Devourer, which is a great weapon all in its own right. Let's take a look at what this unit has, though. We're going to move into that, and Arcane Devourer, we've got Slaying +1, Omni +5, Special Acceleration, 40% of foes' first attack for damage reduction, and NFU speed-based. That's really good already on a Cav, and it looks like this unit is set up for Gale Force. For Fate Unchanged, we grant another action to the unit when it performs the reposition, and we put exposure on nearest foes and foes within 2 that have savior effects. This unit is really good and is a fantastic hit and run or Gale Force unit, whichever you want to use him for. To move on and talk more about that utility, and we'll go over to the fodder next, but look at this build here. This is Flared Sparrow, Speed Defense Snag 4, which is underrated and can really take advantage of that Fate Unchanged piece, and then Alarm Attack Speed. I really like this unit. I'm giving this unit a 9. I can't say that this is meta in every mode like some of these others, but I think you can really get a lot of use out of this unit. Unfortunately, I have to give the fodder a 3 because melee Cav, and while I love Speed Defense Snag 4, I can't say that it is a meta changing skill like some of these others that you're seeing up here. Still, infantry speed tactic that he comes with is good, but yeah, again, I would rather have infantry no follow-up in that case. So I give him a 3 there, but a 9 for utility. This is a very solid unit at a 12 rating. For Arcane Devourer, this gets kind of interesting, and the first one I want to show is Duo Erica. Keep in mind you've got that duo skill that you can use, and her preference weapon isn't fantastic. There will be a refined somewhere down the road, but it's a while away. We've got Arcane Devourer, Godlike Reflexes, Attack Speed Prime 4, Spurn 4, and Times Pulse 4. This is a fantastic Omni tank with a visible speed of 60. To look at armors, we've got Arcane Devourer on this Hana, who's getting 60 speed, Distant Dart, Hardy Fighter 3, and Attack Speed Far Save. This unit can do a lot of damage, and Arcane Devourer is a big part of that. Last, I wanted to talk about the Gale Force use of this, and I really like this a bit more for Gale Force than Arcane Eleuthir because you can take advantage of some speed that you get on some of these infantry melee dancers like Sylvia. A visible 54 speed is very respectable for what you want her to do, which is to come in later and do some follow-up attacks. Attack speed Clash 4 because she's going to be warping in with Wings of Mercy 4, and of course attack speed Pledge, which is my new favorite skill on all infantry Gale Force units. Moving on to the Rearmed Chrom meta giveaway here. Now, I know this isn't fully using all parts of the buffalo, as we say, but I still think this is an excellent build. Keep in mind, in Astra season, there aren't as many infantry units. Infantry speed tactic is virtually worthless in light season. Astra, though, think of all of the flyers that you have. Oh, and calves if you include Reagan. But upgrading Reagan's kit, even though she's going to get a good refine, is a great thing to do. I don't think this is going to step on any toes, and the support that this gives, along with the extra damage that this gives Reagan, means that you can do a lot of fun things here. What can I say? Flared Sparrow is excellent. Another option is to just change her into a Gale Force unit, but that takes a little less into account what Chrom can give her. I have this build except for no Flared Sparrow, and I absolutely love it. It is highly, highly recommended. Okay, here is your chance to go back and look at all of the other skills, all of the other rearmed weapons, and the length of them, and compare it to this monstrosity. This is insanely wordy, and for not as many effects as you think. This is true IS here, trying to outdo Yu-Gi-Oh!, and it is mind-boggling as to what they're doing with these descriptions. That rant aside, this is a really good unit. The problem with this unit, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, is a lot of the beast skills don't have foundationals, so you can't you can't get a whole bunch of them when you're inheriting. But let's look at Arcane Nihility with a little more readable version of this. We have Slaying, we have Omni +6, we have a Rain that is really complicated in Attack Defense -Y. Y equals spaces +3. And if Y is greater than 5, you get a damage reduction of 30%. And then you get a bonus and penalty equals foes bonuses. So you take away the foes bonuses and you give them to you, basically. You're stealing them. You get no follow-up, and then you get 50% true damage based on speed. Okay, that's really good. Power of Nihility, you've got Omni +9, you've got Special Acceleration, you've got restores X% of HP when damaging special triggers. So X equals max cooldown times 20. If you've got a 5 cooldown, for instance, you get 100%. Well, I guess you can't get a 5 cooldown because of Slaying. If you've got a 4 cooldown, you get 80% healing, which is kind of phenomenal. Like, this is a really good skill set here, and I've had these really beat me up before. Eitr is better than folks give her credit for. Let's look at Eitr and all of the glorious things you can do. Now, you can go a couple different directions. I've chosen here to go more damaging because I think that is a little more fun, and I think that's something you'll use on Aether-Raid's defense or in Summoner duels. As far as the rankings, okay. The problem Beast Sense 4 is an amazing skill, and she's got amazing things she can give out, but we talked about how you get less benefit out of that. Beast Sense 4, you have to use this unit, and that's it. That takes up your entire 4 slots. There are some very specific units that love it, but it's not a skill that gets used widely across a range of other units. What you'd really like to see is some more Beast 4 things pop up that had predecessors that you could easily get to, which is a tough thing to ask for in a beast skill format. That being said, 4 for fodder. It's not terrible, but it's not great because of all the reasons I just said. As far as utility, I mean, we talked about it. The problem with melee calves is use case. Where are you going to use this unit? You can actually make this unit a Gale Force Initiator, and that's something that can be possible, but you don't have damage piercing, which is tougher, but you can combine her with someone like Legendary Alir, and that's a thing you can do. Still, that is 1 extra support, and any Gale Force user will tell you that every single slot is important and you have to maximize the units as much as you can. As far as Arcane Nihility, you've got Freya. Yes, she got a Refine. Yes, the Refine wasn't as bad as people said it was, but understand this is a different use for her, and this Arcane Nihility really helps in her Gale Force builds. Remember that Arcane Nihility can only be used on calves, which is terrible. So we've got Wings of Mercy 4, Attack Speed Clash 4, and Alarm Attack Speed. That's really good for this unit, and you can get a lot of use out of her in Light Season when you're using a full Gale Force team. You've got New Year's Leaf and lots of speed there, and there are some great skills combined with Beast Sense 4, Alarm Attack Speed, and Attack Speed Clash 4. Keep in mind that this would take 2 Eitrs to get this unit to work. But if Leaf is your favorite, I mean, this is the way to go. And the last one is Summer Freya, who will eventually get a Refine, but that's a little ways down the road because seasonal Refines come slower. But this is still a really fun unit with Beast and Trace. I was thinking more of a hit and run style of play here, so that's something fun if you want to use this unit as an initiator. Looking at the meta build here, and this is another example of this being very influential on one particular unit, and so it's worth giving it to. And I think this unit is transcendent on Embla. I use this and it makes Embla, who's already a very good unit and very good at killing things, and makes her even harder to kill, which is fantastic on defense. The longer you can stay alive, the more annoying and the more likely you're going to catch your opponent in a mistake. So I'm a big fan of this unit, would definitely recommend. We're making our way down to Alcryst, and Arcane Darkbow is really good, and I know Alcryst was a favorite of so many folks. This is the nuke maker. If you're looking at melee nukes and you want to build many of them, this is the way to go. And I will say this, it is normally more advantageous for you to have a number of good nukes in your barracks versus a number of good tanks. Generally, you can only use 1 good tank at a time, whereas a lot of teams have 2 good nukes at a time. That increases the number that you need and so makes ranged rearmed units more powerful if they can arm nukes. This unit is fantastic because right off the get-bat you get Flashing Sparrow and Arcane Darkbow, and that's really powerful. Looking at what Arcane Darkbow does, it does slaying and in combat attack speed +6. You get null debuffs, which has just become better since Legendary Robin is actually on the decline. You get offensive null follow-up, and you get desperation. This is already a lot of good things in one package. Then we look at Get Behind Me, and we get some speed defense debuffs along with offensive tempo. There are a lot of good things. If you've worked with desperation units before, basically the way this is going to go is you're going to charge up your special as you go because the enemy can't stop you. You're going to trigger that special and you're going to smash things. Unless the unit's Lucia, but that's a totally different problem. Let's look at how this unit rates. Fodder, I've got this unit as a 7. I like what this unit has in Flash Sparrow. Even though it was a little power crept by Attack Speed Pledge, I still like it a lot, and I think it's a good A skill. But look at all of the other things this unit can give out. And we talked about this unit as, I mean, physical null follow-up, you've got Brash Assault, you've got the lulls, you've got a lot of new things, and a lot of good C skills that you can give out to infantry units, including Infantry Pulse 4 times Pulse 4, all of those great things. This unit is fantastic fodder-wise. For utility, I give this unit a 6, and again, that is because nukes are so stupid right now. Like, 59 is great, and you get a lot of speed from this unit, but it's just hard to stack up to some of the newer nukes. They're really, really good. There is a huge gap between that tier 0 meta tier there and everyone else underneath. Let's look at some builds with Arcane Darkbow. And first up we have Dorothy, which is our 4-star pool, our latest infantry archer, and you've got Flash Sparrow, physical null follow-up, and times plus 4. It's exactly what we were talking about. I like this with Luna as opposed to Deadeye because I think that combines better with physical null follow-up. Looking over at Leone, and I know there are some big Leone fans, and this is fantastic art as well. You've got Flared Sparrow, lull speed defense 4, and speed smoke 4, and this unit can absolutely crush things with Arcane Darkbow. The last is, of course, Alencia, and she already has a good weapon in Whitecap Bow, but Arcane Darkbow gives her a little more oomph. You throw in Deadeye, Flared Sparrow, and Speed Preempt 3, which is a fun skill to give units. And then, of course, Soaring Guidance for making her a Warp Beacon. Can we choose any unit for the meta build that isn't Oblivion's Joshua? This is one of the many builds that he has for Joshua, keep in mind, but this one is a fun one with Ruptured Sky, Attack Speed Oath, and Physical Null Follow-Up, along with a Flash Sparrow from Alcryst. This is what we're really talking about, though. If you look at that Physical Null Follow-Up, this is on 2 units that most people didn't summon for. I mean, Fabale and Ascendant Fur, most people didn't go out of their way for those. But if you get one, you can give it to Alcryst and start handing that out. That's fantastic. This unit is has a great preference weapon that needed updated skills, and that's exactly what we're doing here, and takes this unit to a whole new level. Okay, now we're gonna bump up a whole nother level with Rearmed Plumeria, and this unit is crazy. Arcane Euphoria is okay, but Cloying Dreams giving charge and penalty doubler is clutch. That is really big, along with the new Defense Res Ploy 3 skill, which, as you know, negates a lot of different things like bonus doubler and grand strategy. So that is basically the raid boss killer right there. But let's look at Arcane Euphoria quickly. All right, we've got Slaying, we've got Omni +5, we've got Guaranteed Follow-Up, True Damage equals 15% times attack, and that includes AoEs, and then damage reduction equals 30% from first attack. So that's good stuff. Then we have Cloying Dreams. We have, of course, the Dance. We have an Omni +5 to target. That's visible. We have Penalty Doubler to target that we just talked about. Charge to target is really the thing that gets us here. And increasing a unit's range is good going all the way back to Legendary Azura. And the fact that this unit gives out even more things makes her very, very powerful. You also get an Omni -5 to foe within 5 spaces, which is, again, fantastic. Looking at where we're ranking this unit, we have a ranged flyer here that already has good skills to give out, and I mean, I can't give this unit anything but a 9 because of that. Keep in mind, I weight skills that you already have on the kit higher. So, I mean, yeah, Defense Res Ploy 3 is excellent. You've got Wings of Mercy 4 on there already. I've given this unit Firestorm Dance 3, which if you have the preliminary 4, you can hand out to other dancers pretty easily. And then, yeah, you go in with 65 res and just smash things. This is a fantastic unit. Back to fodder, though, we've got the dance skills that we talked about. We've got the ploys, and we've got a lot of other things like Flared Sparrow that you can start handing out to other units. Utility, giving charge out is the thing right now, and that is very powerful. And again, it does very much harken back to Legendary Azura, but the fact that it's a warp and can go over certain terrain is kind of fantastic, and gives folks new wrinkles to how they're going to do things. Looking at Arcane Euphoria builds, Soren is definitely the best at this, and the high res, high attack is really what you're looking for here. Going with an AoE build, and you can just absolutely smash things. Times Pulse 4 is interesting. Keep in mind, Infantry Pulse 4 is another option there. For Tharja, this is another unit we're looking for high attack, and this unit has high speed as well, so you've got Growing Wind going on there, because really what I love about Arcane Euphoria is the fact that it adds the true damage to the AoE. But going on from there, we've got Desperation 4 on this unit, and Pulse Smoke. This unit can do a lot of damage, and there are a lot of Tharja fans out there. Then we have Renea, and I think this is kind of a special thing to do. Do you need a dancer with Brash Assault 4 and Remote Mirror and all this stuff? No, but this is still really fun to do, and you can upgrade a favorite like this. You've got Flare here, you've got Attack Speed Pledge, and Arcane Euphoria really finishes off the build with giving this unit some extra attack that she can actually hit hard with. Keep in mind that Flare bases off of Res, so that is even more attack that you're getting from that special. On to the meta build, and this is something kind of interesting. I thought about some different things. We've already talked about ranged flyers and the different things you can do with them. You can do all of those things with this unit, but now we've got an interesting wrinkle where we can hand this stuff off to a dancer like Leanne with high res, and you can get some defense res ploy goodness out of this unit. It's a great way to update a unit, and there are a lot of things that you can do in game modes like Arena. Keep in mind that when we talk about arcane weapons, they don't score well. So this unit is going to score about as well as some of the new attuned units, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But having a dancer in Arena is invaluable, and I don't care if you take a hit and score, it makes the mode actually palatable. So that's fun. But this is something where you can give an entire kit to Leanne and be happy with it. All right, guys, we're at the home stretch, and we have Rearmed Sonya with Arcane Caliburnus and a slew of other things. It's taken me a while to get a better view of this unit, and this is an interesting unit that kind of tries to replicate what we have with Spring Sonya in an infantry format. She's got very good skills and very good things to pass on being an infantry ranged unit, but she has a preference skill, which is different from Ophelia, which makes her more usable. Let's talk about what those are. For Arcane Caliburnus, you've got Slaying, you've got Omni +5, you've got a guaranteed follow-up, Special Acceleration, and Lull Attack Res, which is more clutch than you realize. For Beyond Witchery, you have an Omni stat boost of +8. So those are visible stats bumping up at +8, which is kind of crazy. You've got offensive tempo, and then you've got at start of turn, cooldown -X. If it's turn 1, you get X equals 2. If it's turn 2 or on, you get X equals 1. That's nutty, and you can do a lot of fun things with this. Looking at the fodder, there are so many things that ranged infantry units can do. We talked about that with Alcryst. It's the same is true here. There's a lot of fun things you can do with fodder. Don't forget that attack speed pledge can also be inherited onto ranged infantry units as well. That's a clutch skill. You don't want to fodder off very many legendary Allyrs because she's amazing. But if you're giving this to a rearmed unit, that means that you can fodder off the rearmed instead and keep them at the end of the day. So you've got all of this, including Flare. I've got to give this fodder an 8. I think this fodder is amazing, just what she comes with and what she can give to other folks. As far as utility, I'll be honest, I might be a little low on this, but I have been playing with this unit, and the issue is exactly what we said, where there just isn't a huge space for nukes that aren't just the premium ones right now. So utility, I gave her a 4. She is ahead of you, Ophelia, but not by much. That preference A skill does do a lot for her. And keep in mind that doesn't mean you can't use her. As an AoE unit, this unit is kind of fantastic. The big problem I have is that it's very hard to run escape route, which is kind of fun on her because it gives her warping along with the damage in her weapon, along with something like pass, which pass has become almost just critical in units in game modes. Well, in any game mode, because Gatekeeper has just become a thing now. So pass is very, very critical to warp units, and she can't get it because of the way this is set up. As far as builds with Arcane Caliburnus, Bastion's like the poster child. Look at this unit. You've got so much res and attack there. This unit is going to hit with that Glacies really, really hard. As far as other units, you got Ferdinand as a flyer. Again, you've got high speed and high attack. I think this unit is fun to use with Desperation, and Arcane Caliburnus can really complement that. And the last infantry unit there is Arthur, and again, this is more of a high-speed version as opposed to Bastion, who's the low speed, and Flare combined with attack speed finish and magical null follow-up. You've got a fantastic nuke on your hands right there. If you're looking for some sort of meta build for this unit, I stumbled across this and have fallen in love. Celine has always been a good support unit because of the healing, but you add in that high res stat and put in attack res ploy. I know that's instead of Canto control, but she just has the stat line for this. So high res, high attack, you take advantage of flare, you've got magical null follow-up. This unit can hit like a truck as well as be supportive. This is a very, very valuable unit that you can give basically Soren's whole kit to and then use it later. But looking more on this, this was my favorite build that I could come up with for this unit. Attuned Peony. Keep in mind this looks like it's different, but there are the same rules in that for rearmed weapons you can't have preference skills, and for attuned skills you can't have preference skills. So, looking at this, we have Flower of Caring, Tender Dream, and Attack Oath Echo. We're going to go over each of those, but this is a very serviceable unit in a lot of different modes, and I think this is very fun. This unit is going to be focused more on Aether Raid's offense, but can be used in a lot of other things as well. Let's look at Flower of Caring though. We've got Slaying, we've got Omni +5, we've got Healing for 5 HP to unit after combat, and we've got damage reduction of 40% from first attack. Now, to allies in cardinal directions, and this is where this really starts to kick up, we've got +9 attack, +9 speed, it's already a lot, +4 defense, +4 res. Now keep in mind that's only in cardinal direction. Probably would have liked that to be in more than that, but that's still a good range there. But the last thing is you get 5 HP to unit after combat, and that healing is clutch in modes like Aether Raid's offense. You've got Tender Dreams as this unit's preference dance, and you grant, once a dance is performed, you get orders. You get Omni +4 if it's visible. You get a Canto 1 to the unit, and that's pretty much it, but that's very powerful. Particularly that Canto 1 is really interesting when you're talking about Gale Force type setups. Imagine a unit that goes in, smacks a unit, then they get danced, and then they attack another unit, and then they can Canto in. You can really start trapping units like that, and it can create some fun things. The thing we really want to look at are these new attuned skills, and we've got Attack Oath Echo. We've got a visible attack +6 and orders. Both of these can be given out pretty easily in the context of summoner duels and Aether Raids. So keep that in mind, but still having it on tap can be fairly powerful depending on what map you're looking at or what team comp you're running. It's something that you can look at for some different stuff. We'll go further into the builds using that to talk about that more, but for fodder, I have to give this unit a 10. I love attack speed echo. I think it's a lot of fun to give the other units. There are also, as a melee flyer, this has all of the same stuff that we had with Ingrid that you can give away, which is really good. So Guard Bearing for Gambit, Wings of Mercy. You've got the Flow Desperation and Desperation skills. As far as C skills, you've got the Soaring Guidance and Guidance, as well as some Rain Snaps, which are way underrated. They are very good skills. From there, you've got the typical A skills with the distant counters, as well as the Flared Sparrow and attack speed unity. This is a fantastic unit with fantastic fodder, and I can't give her anything but a 10. Looking at utility, she's a dancer, and dancers have lost a lot of value. In years past, the dancer would have been 11 out of 9, and now we're just looking at a 9. This unit gives a lot of things out, and I think she can be used in a lot of ways. I've got here a Gale Force setup, which I think is very powerful, and something that isn't too hard to get on her because she is an attuned unit and can fodder factory all of her stuff around. I think this is very usable and something that you'll be seeing more. But yeah, let's move on to what you can do with Attack Oath Echo. So first up, we have basically what I'm looking at here is the attack speed prime 4 skill in general. And if you're not in light season, it can be harder to get all of the effects you need. Remember, you need 4 bonuses in order for that to really work. This is 1 more bonus that you can add on. And this in particular, you've also got attack speed pledge, which is giving cooldown reduction. So that's already 2 of your 4, and it's not hard to get the next 2. Particularly with Lear, you've got charge as well on her, so you only need 1 more. It's a great setup for this unit if you're an Lear fan. Moving on to Thor, we're going to talk about her more in just a second in our meta build thing. I do want to talk about Shez, and Shez is a fantastic user of this, and I wanted to talk about the whole soaring guidance thing. The idea being that the unit that has soaring guidance doesn't often have a way to warp in. Now that's of course assuming that you don't have either Bridal Catria or Winter Cordelia helping you. But this unit can then warp into spots and then have other units warp around them using that unit's soaring guidance. That's particularly powerful with Shez because Shez is such a powerful melee frontliner, especially when you consider guard bearing 4. Shez is really good, and if you haven't seen him yet, you have not been stomped by him yet. Looking at this Thor build, I really love this. This doesn't take a whole lot. It basically takes an Ivy that you inherit onto your Peony and then add on your attack speed Echo. No one's using that C skill right now. It's just not fantastic and hasn't been for a while. So getting rid of that gives Thor a new life, basically. And this is Sabotage AR3, Soaring Guidance, and Attack Oath Echo make this unit very powerful. And yeah, summoners, this unit can do a whole lot of damage and can be a key piece to your Summoner Duels team. This unit just won't die, will she? Attuned Triandra. All right, we've got Deathblow Echo, which has gotten a bad rap for not a very good reason. We'll talk about why in just a second. This unit has a more interesting dance skill than Peony, though, and we'll talk about one is more supportive, one is more, parasitic to the enemy, and that brings out some different things. Let's look at Flower of Caring, though. We've got Slaying, we've got an Omni +5, and we've got True Damage equals 20% times this unit's speed. Now, to foes within 3 rows and 3 columns, this is a Summoner Duels unit. You take 5 damage to foe before combat. Keep in mind, Summoner Duels and AR defense, as far as things that you need, they're almost the same. And then you get a speed defense -5 during combat. That's very, very powerful. And keep in mind that transcends feuds. So you're not trying to buff your unit next to you, you're debuffing the unit away from you. Feuds have become a very popular thing, and so this kind of gets around that. For Harrowing Dreams, the preference stance, you get to foes in cardinal directions, so we're back to cardinal, which isn't fantastic, but it is what it is. You get a debuff, a visible Omni -5, guard, and sabotage. Those are 3 very powerful things, especially the Omni -5 combined with the sabotage is kind of amazing. Deathblow Echo. Okay, the reason, and this is Infantry Pulse, if you haven't looked at his channel, he makes some amazing defense things. He's the one that brought this up to me and really opened my eyes. The thing about Attack Oath Echo is that you are getting things that most of the time you can get from other units in the game, whereas Deathblow Echo is immediately influencing your attack. It's giving you a free +4 attack if you initiate combat. That is a lot better than we're giving it credit for, and we're going to look at some builds, but first let's talk about this unit and what you can do. Fodder, again, melee flyer, and she has a lot of things in her kit that she can hand off that are very good. Obviously, Deathblow Echo is pretty dang good. You've got Flow Refresh 4, which is good, not amazing, but that's about what we're looking at. This is more based on Deathblow Echo and the skills that you can inherit to her that you can give to other people. Now, when we're talking about utility, I gave her an 8, just 1 below Peony. I think Peony is going to have more use cases, but understand if you're just doing this for Aether Raid's defense, if you're not using Mirabilis or or Triandra, the mythic one. I think this unit is a good stand-in for those and can do some really neat things. But in particular for summoner duels is where I think she really shines and can do some incredible things. I think she will be very fun there. I recently saw one with aerial maneuvers and I was drooling. But looking more at the utility, it's why I gave her an 8 as opposed to the 9. I think she is just usable in less places. Let's look at different builds with Deathblow Echo. When you're talking about any type of player phase nuke, I think this is phenomenal, period. Arcane Dartbow on Etier, you're talking about getting 2 hits as long as you outspeed. You've got attack speed finish with the extra true damage in there. Physical null follow-up, so you're mostly negating, halfway negating damage reduction, and then attack speed pledge. This unit is going to smash things, and I think this is a great use of this. If we look at you leg yarn fans, and I know there are a ton of you, I don't understand where you came from, but you are always putting Soaring Guidance on your unit, and it's always destroying me in arena. This build with Deathblow Echo means you are hitting with 8 extra damage because this is a brave hit, and that is not insignificant. If they don't have no follow-up, you've got Brash Assault, which means you're hitting with 4 extra per hit for 16 extra damage, and that is very, very good, along with Brash Assault's reflective damage. This is an excellent build. Please don't do this. Please don't field this against me. The last, and I wanted to look at a unit like Edelgard. Edelgard is a fantastic AoE, we'll call it a Gale Force unit. This is used kind of a hybrid role where you can use this unit as either a Gale Force or a hit and run. Most of the time I see hit and run on turn 1 and then Gale Force past that. But 82 visible attack and 53 speed is very respectable. You're going to go in, you're going to hit twice, hopefully with Desperation. You're going to get extra attack with Deathblow and hopefully put you over the top for some of the beefier units that have some of their AoE reduction active. Summoners, if you haven't seen AoE Edelgard in action, she is kind of phenomenal. The last thing, and we talked about this leg yarn already, but if you're looking at this, these are skills that, again, you can get in one fell swoop. This is one inheritance block with Brash Assault, Ruptured Sky, Soaring Guidance, and of course that Deathblow skill. And she doesn't have a preference skill, so you're not really losing out on anything when you inherit that from Triandra. This is an excellent build. You guys are amazing for sticking around. Let's look at the big picture and remember what this episode is about, because I can start talking about a little more analysis things for you guys who have been here this long. What we're looking at is we have choices now. This is not back when Ganglot first came out and you had 3 units total that you had to give out. We have 14 now, so you can pick a unit that is both good at their job and can give other units fodder. It's why I like these dancers so much, because you can use them in multiple modes, and we're starting to see them more in summoner duels because they've been given such powerful effects. If you're looking for units that are your core units that are giving things out, if you're starting blank slate, that tier 0 is where it's at. For all the things that Ingrid can do, I absolutely love her. And these aren't really in order. The order would be whatever your barracks needs. Plumeria, I think, is excellent on ARD and summoner duels. Peony, I think, more has a slant toward Aether offense, but I think can be used in the other 2 as well. All of these do amazing things for all the reasons we talked about up above. For Tier 1, these are units that are next in line, and sometimes, much like legendaries, the rearmed units choose you. These are still very respectable units that you can have, that you can give out fodder to, and really good building blocks. Even on the lower end with Robin, who is a good unit in her own right and can also give out dragon skills. The reason she's not a little bit higher is because with that fodder, normally it's hard to get it to people. You think about Counter Roar with the 4 skill inheritance slot that it requires. That bumps her down a bit because she's not as good of a fodder factory. Whereas Triandra has a lot of skills that can be, well, like we talked about in one fell swoop. In one inheritance swipe, you can get 4 new skills and build out a unit, which is incredible. Same with Tana, and I know Tana has Guidance 4, which is possibly the most amazing fodder, but one of the things you can do is chain these units. A popular thing to do is to take Tana and inherit all of her stuff onto Ingrid, and then continue on like that. All of your flyers would have, once you summon a batch of others, you would take your last flyer that you have for the last rearmed one and move it onto the next unit. Tier 2, we get into more of the niche cases, and there are times where, if you look at these are a lot of nukes here. Well, nukes and Rearmed Chrom, who's a different case altogether. Nukes are lower down on the priority list right now because we just got a whole bunch of really fantastic preference weapons on these nukes, and they are incredible. I'm looking at you, Hinoka. I'm looking at you, Windclawed. There's another one up there, and I'm blanking. But Summoners, these are really good units. I can't say enough about them. You've got Rearmed Chrom, who's up here because he is okay with fodder, but a really good unit. Like, if you're a Gale Force nut, this is a unit that can do a lot of fun things to you. Even hit and run. I use this unit quite a bit in hit and run teams as well. These units are fairly good though, and I like the way they play. I will say the reason Ophelia and Sonya ended up with the same score is because Special Spiral is better than the Ploy skill that Sonya gives, but I think Sonya is a better unit than Ophelia is. Which one are you going to pick? It depends on personal preference there. And the last, of course, is Tier 3, and Eitr has a lot of potential, but would need a ton of beast skills that would have to come out, and you know how IS likes to hoard beast skills and preliminary beast skills, like the Tier 3 versions. They just don't like to give them out. Ganglot is just such a wretched unit, it's hard to use her, and I love Lif and I love Alfred, but they're at the bottom of the barrel here. So if you're starting from fresh, I would do the Tier 0 units. If you've got the Tier 1 units, I think you're doing just fine and don't need an upgrade. Keep an eye on new attuned skills. Now, you can look back at this and look at kind of the history, and one of the things we saw was the first rearmed unit, Lif, wasn't great. Then we had a huge jump up to Robin, who still a year later is very influential and a unit that you can use as a fodder factory. So keep in mind and look for that next attuned skill, which probably hits either end of November or beginning of December, somewhere in that time frame. Summoners, you have been amazing. This was a gargantuan task and is way too long of a video. I wanted to get something into people's hands that explained more which unit they could choose here. I appreciate Super Chats for this so much. If you'd like to support it even more, you can become a member, and members, you are amazing, and thank you so much for all of your support. And because of you guys, I get to do a lot more fun things in this game. I get to test a lot more units. If you're looking for another video, a resource, my summoning video, my how-to there really puts into light how you should go about summoning some of these rearmed units and what you should look for and prioritize. Summoners, take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.